The second meeting did not arrive with intention, but it did not feel accidental either. Xavier noticed Ariba before she noticed him. She was standing near the cafe window, sunlight filtering through the glass and settling softly around her. She held her phone loosely in her hand, her attention divided between the screen and the world outside. There was something unchanged about her presence, an ease, a quiet attentiveness, that made familiar spaces feel gentler. For a brief moment, Xavier considered leaving. It would have been the sensible choice. The first meeting had been harmless, brief, and safely distant. But now, standing only a few steps away, he felt awareness settle in, a clarity that had not existed before. Then she turned. Their eyes met, and recognition passed between them like an unspoken sentence. Ariba's expression shifted from surprise to a polite smile, reserved, warm, and unassuming. She did not rush toward him, nor did she hesitate. "Hi," she said, her voice soft, steady. "Hi," Xavier replied, matching her calm. They stood there for a moment longer than required, suspended between familiarity and formality. Then conversation found its way, as conversations often do, through small, neutral topics. The cafe, the weather, the city. Safe subjects that required no vulnerability. Xavier listened carefully, responding when needed, but his thoughts were moving elsewhere. The age gap stood quietly between them, clearer now than it had been before. It wasn't something he judged harshly, nor something that made him uncomfortable. It was simply a fact, one that carried weight. Ariba spoke with curiosity, her words reflecting a stage of life still open, still unfolding. Xavier had already crossed many of the paths she was only beginning to approach. He had learned lessons she had not yet been forced to face. If anything, it felt protective. She found herself observing him more closely this time, the way his eyes softened when he listened, the way he paused before responding. There was maturity in him, yes, but also a distance that felt intentional. Not cold, not indifferent, just carefully placed. As the conversation slowed naturally, Xavier glanced at his watch, even though time was not pressing him. "I should get going," he said gently. "But it was good to see you again." There was sincerity in his voice, but also finality. Ariba nodded, offering a small smile. Yes, it was. They walked in opposite directions without hesitation, without lingering. No exchanged numbers. No promises of another meeting. Just a quiet acknowledgement of something that had passed through both of them without asking permission. As Xavier stepped outside, the noise of the city settled around him. He inhaled slowly, grounding himself. Boundaries were not acts of fear, he reminded himself. They were acts of care. If he had noticed her innocence, then it was his duty to ensure it remained untouched. If he felt even the faintest sense of pull, then it was his responsibility to step back. Not every connection was meant to be pursued. Some were meant to be respected from a distance. Ariba, meanwhile, walked away with a strange calm in her chest. She did not feel rejected. She did not feel disappointed. What lingered instead was a quiet curiosity. Why did his distance feel thoughtful rather than dismissive? She did not yet have the words for it, but she sensed that Xavier was holding something back, not out of disinterest, but out of awareness. And that awareness, somehow, made him stand out even more. Neither of them knew what the future held. They did not label the moment, nor did they attempt to define it. But boundaries, once drawn, are rarely static. Time tests them. Circumstances challenge them. And emotions, quiet, patient emotions, often wait on the other side. This was not the end of a possibility. It was the beginning of restraint. And sometimes, the most meaningful stories do not begin with closeness, but with distance carefully chosen.